In this video, we are going to discuss questions of sample question paper 2024-25 issued by CBSE for class 10 science code 086. Well, few things which are already clear with you are these, and from some general instructions is also there are four. These are the sections. That is section A comprising of 16 MCQs and 4 assertion reason based questions. Section B will have 6 short answer type question comprising 2 marks each. Section C will have 7 short answers questions carrying 3 marks each. And section D will have 3 long answers questions carrying 5 marks each. Well, there will be some case-based question, that is 3 of them. And each will carry 4 marks with some internal choices with parts or subparts. We'll begin with the first section here. In the first section, as you can see, we have some questions, 16 questions. They are all multiple choice, and only one of these choices are correct. Now, let's begin with the first question. In the first question, we have to find what? Identify what is PQR in the following balanced equation, right? Reaction this is. Now, as you can see in this reaction, this is a lead nitrate, right? Lead nitrate powder is solid. It is heated to form lead oxide, nitrogen dioxide gas, and oxygen. Now, there are different methods of balancing. I'll go by the method of hit and trial method. Let's say start replacing X with these values, PQR. I can say this is in order. So if I replace, let's say, I will going to replace this PQR with the options given here. There could be other methods of balancing and equations. I replace this with P from here, 2 from here, and 4 from here. Now check here, is lead is balanced? I can say lead is balanced. Nitrogen is how much? This is 2 into, this is through nitrogen 2 into 2, 4. And the nitrogen is 4 over here. Oxygen is 3 into 2, 6. 6 multiplied by 2 is 12. Oxygen, I can see 2 here, 4 into 2, 8 here, and 2. That's give you 12. So I can see the first is the correct option here for. Now, if it is not, you can keep on trying for, in an exam. If this does not comes as the first, obviously you'll go for the next, and I go by the method of hit and trial. In question number 2, we have to match the following. Now, the first part is a metal which is amphoteric oxide. What we know that there are two metals, that is zinc, that we have studied in class 10th. That is zinc and aluminum. These are amphoteric. These metals form amphoteric oxides. So these are what? These are metal oxides which react both with acid as well as base to give salt and water. So I can see from aluminum or magnesium, there is an option aluminum given. Now, if I see the next option here, the next part is metal which melts on when kept on palm. So gallium and cesium are two such metals which has extremely low melting point. Ordinarily, it is in at room temperature. It may not be in the solid liquid state, but once you keep in your palm with your body heat, starts to melt. So we say that it has extremely low melting point. So gallium and cesium are two metals. The options here should be gallium. The next is a metal reacts with nitric acid. You should know that most of the metals, like metals reacts with acid, right? Metals reacts with acid to produce salt and hydrogen gas. That is what the general reaction we know. But this is true for hydrochloric acid. This is true for H2SO4 sulfuric acid. But in case of nitric acid, HNO3, right? Hydrogen gas is not produced because this nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. So it oxidizes hydrogen to produce water and itself gets reduced in any of its nitrites or nitrates, any of its oxides, that's better term. So, but there are exceptions. Two metals, that is manganese and magnesium, that reacts with very dilute nitric acid. That's an exception for an exception. Magnesium and manganese are two such metals which actually can react with very dilute nitric acid to produce hydrogen gas. And from magnesium and manganese, I can see one option is given here. That is manganese is there. The second such metal is magnesium. Now let's begin with the next part. It says the metals which cannot displaces hydrogen. For that, you need to remember the activity series. The metals which are below hydrogen in the activity series cannot displace hydrogen. So it includes the over here it is gold. Now, but other options are like metals which are below hydrogen in the activity series is copper, this is silver, gold. These are the metals which cannot displace hydrogen. Now, if I see among the correct option has to be, you can figure out from here only. It should be one with three, one, three. That should be this. One, three has one pairing. Yeah, there is are more pairing. Yeah, but that this is the correct. In question number 3, I can see here over an electrolyte is present here, and the bulb does not glow in this case. It is connected with a battery. And the question here is the solution in the given figure is likely to. What do you know that all acids conducts, like acids when dissolved in water, conducts electricity because they releases an ion called what you know as hydronium ion, or we say H plus AQ or H3O plus. So these ions are responsible for conduction of electricity. Well, base and salts are also conduct electricity because salts conduct electricity because of they dissociate into ions. But let's figure out over here, as for the context, we can see that there is an acid. The other options, you can see that this is what? This is alcohol. Alcohol has hydrogen, but it does not dissociate. It does not dissociate to give H plus ions. Okay, right. So it will not conduct electricity. But as I can see for the other options, again is an acid. Carbon dioxide dissolved in water is what? Carbonic acid, which is found in aerated drinks like Pepsi, Coke, and all. So this is carbonic acid. So we can say this will conduct electricity. Sulfuric acid conduct electricity. Nitric acid does not, sorry, this is alcohol does not conduct electricity. Alcohol, glucose is what? C6H12O6. In spite of having so many hydrogen, it does not conduct electricity because it does not releases H plus ions. So figure out it's not the presence of hydrogen in the molecule which is responsible for conduction of electricity. So the condition is whether it is releasing H plus ions or not. So the correct option is B in this case. This one and alternate part here is that which of the following is considered to be strongest electrolyte. So if you see the options given here, I can still again figure out the same thing here. This is sugar solution. As I said, sugar, glucose, ethanol, they do not conduct electricity. Sugar, if I say the glucose molecule is what? C6H12O6. Right. So these have hydrogen, but they do not conduct electricity. So therefore, dilute acid is the only options, which is an electrolyte. Well, among these options, this is an electrolyte, right? They are not asking about universally, which is the strong electrolyte. This is question number 4. It says an aqueous solution A turns phenolphthalein solution pink. So solution turns pink, right? So what do we know there? That solution, when does it turns pink? Is the base, right? So phenolphthalein, the color of phenolphthalein solution is pink in base, right? So A must be base over here. Now further it says that on adding aqueous solution, there is another solution added to this, right? From aqueous solution, on adding another solution B to A, the pink color disappears. So what we know that pink color will disappear only in acidic medium. So once again, the phenolphthalein has a color, is colorless in acid and it shows pink in base. So now we can conclude that here one thing is clear that A is what? It's base, and B is what? An acid or an acidic substance. So which of the following is true? So A is strongly basic and B is weak base. So not correct because B is what? An acid, as I said. B is an acid over here. A is strongly acidic. That's not correct because A is a base. A has a pH greater than 7. That as of now it's true, but because the pH has of a base is greater than 7, right? For a base, the pH is for a base it is greater than 7. And B has a pH less than 7. Yeah, that is also correct because the for 7 it is neutral, and for acidic it is less than 7, and for base the pH, as you know, pH scale varies from 0 to 1. So the acids have pH from 0 to 7. The 7 is neutral and the base is more than 7 and less than 14. So I can see that this is the correct, as we have already decided that substance A is base. All right. So substance A is base and the substance B is acid. In question number 10, it says when 50 gram of lead powder is added to 300 ml of blue color of copper sulfate solution. After few hours, the solution becomes colorless. Obviously, a reaction is taking place. That's how we know that change in the color. So what is lead? That is Pb plus copper sulfate. This is CuSO4 gives, that is lead sulfate valency being 2. So it should be PbSO4. Valency of both is 2 and copper is released. So one thing is very clear, that lead is more reactive than copper, and that's why it is displacing copper. And since the copper sulfate, which is whose color is blue, has turned colorless because of the formation of lead sulfate here. So this is what? This is a type of reaction if they ask. We can see that it is either displacement as well as redox reaction, right? Because as you can see, oxidation and reduction taking place. But we can see the options when I read over here, I can see displacement is the, as for the options given here, it should be displacement reaction. The next question is the electronic configuration of the three metal X, Y, Z. So the electronic configuration of X is this, for Y it is this, and for Z it is this. We have to identify which of them are metals, non-metals. So what you should know that metals generally have either metals, right? Metals generally have either 1, 2, or 3 electrons in the outermost shell, and the non-metals have 4, 5, 6, or 7 generally, right, in the outermost shell, and the 8 electrons in the outermost shell is exhibited by noble gases. Now check here, I can see X has 7 electrons in the outermost shell, so it must be non-metal. Y, if I see it has 2 electrons in the outermost shell, so it's metal. And Z is what? A noble gas, having 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So we figured out that here, the first, that is X is a non-metal. X is a non-metal. The first, yeah, this is a non-metal. So where is X non-metal? Yes, X is a non-metal, and X is a non-metal. Where is an Y and X are non-metals. Y is a metal. Yeah, so this one, option C. So X is a non-metal and Y is a metal. So the option C is correct in this case. The next question, number 7, it says which of the following is an endothermic reaction? So we know that the reaction in which the heat is absorbed is called endothermic reaction, and the one in which the heat is released or evolved is called an exothermic reaction. So we know that when we burn a candle, heat is released. So clearly it is an exothermic reaction. Decomposition of food, right? So sorry, it's not decomposition, it's cooking of food. So cooking of food, right? What happens? it it does not releases energy, it takes heat to be cooked, right? When we uh, cook any food, it absorbs heat. That's why it should be an endothermic reaction. But let's read the other options here. Decomposition of vegetable matter into, say, compost, it is also a exothermic reaction. So if you have ever done composting, you can feel the heat after a few months or a few days when the vegetable matter has turned into compost. Now next is reaction of sodium. That's a highly exothermic reaction. S- So we can say that the correct option will be B only. The next question is during cellular oxidation of glucose, ATP is produced along the formation of other products in this reaction. Which of the following events is associated with the production of maximum ATP molecules of glucose during this process? Now we know that uh, there are two types of respiration. One is aerobic, that takes place in the presence of oxygen, the other which takes place in the absence of oxygen. What you should know that aerobic, right? The aerobic produces more amount of energy than anaerobic. So the first part, as I choose, select, see the options here, ethanol in yeast, that's an anaerobic reaction, right? Although it produces energy, it produces energy in the form of ATP, and the other products releases alcohol, C2H5OH, right? And carbon dioxide is also released. Now, lactic acid in the muscles, it's already clear that it is an anaerobic reaction, so these are not correct. Now, carbon dioxide in the yeast cell, again, it is an anaerobic. The one which takes place in the humans, that is in human cells, right, has to be, by that they mean to say, in the mitochondria. So one that takes place in the mitochondria of this cell, not the muscle cells, right? The muscle cells, it is lactic acid. So that takes place in the mitochondria, inside the mitochondria, that's we known as Krebs cycle. Yeah, it produces maximum amount of energy from all other options given here. The question here is during which of the following stage the circulation of the blood in normal human being, the oxygenated blood is pumped to all part of the body. So what we know that oxygenated blood is pumped to all part of the body, and that is from the largest artery called aorta, right? So if I roughly make the chambers of the heart, this is our left atrium, also called left auricle, left ventricle, right auricle, and right ventricle. Now, as I said, that the heart pumps the blood to rest of the body, and it is first the blood enters into left atrium, then goes to the left ventricle, and from left ventricle it is sent to the rest of the body. It is sent to the rest of the body using the largest artery called aorta. Now, so you should also know that when atrium contracts, right, the blood goes to the ventricle, right? And when the ventricle contracts, the blood goes through this path. Right. So as of now, let's sum up the thing over here only, that we have to figure out the oxygenated blood pumped to all parts of the body. So it will be pumped when the left ventricle contract. Right. So the left ventricle contract option is there. That is, on contraction of left ventricle, the blood goes to the rest of the body for the supply of oxygenated blood through the largest artery called aorta. The next question is which of the following, that is question number 10, right? Yeah. Which of the following adaptation in herbivores helps in the digestion of cellulose? Cellulose is a complex carbohydrate, and we human being cannot digest cellulose. Although we take cellulose, but that's for our bowel movement, but not for digestion. We don't get energy even if we take some cellulose, like we get it when we eat some vegetable peels and some green leafy vegetables. So only ruminants, and they are able to digest cellulose because they have longer small intestine. So smaller intestine, is it longer or larger? Okay, fine. So that ruminant has much longer small intestine than human being. In fact, the carnivorous animal has the shortest small intestine because they eat meat, which is a simple sugar in comparison to cellulose. As I said, cellulose is a very complex carbohydrate, and therefore it's difficult to digest, and that's why they need larger. Okay, this is wrong answer. We have to look for the longer small intestine, right? Yeah. So the longer small intestine, which is the correct option here. That is option D is correct. Question number 11 says there was a cerebellar dysfunction. That means there is a problem with the cerebrum. right? That's cerebrum is what? Cerebrum is a part of hindbrain. Which of the following activities will get disturbed in the patient as a result of this? So the first option is what? Salivation. So salivation is what? That is watering of the mouth, right? So watering of mouth is actually controlled by medulla, right? But they are talking about cerebrum, so it's not correct. Now, similarly, hunger control, right? So the things associated with hunger or center associated with hunger is forebrain. And yeah, this is correct. Posture and balance, control of posture and balance, precise actions like picking pen and all are controlled by the cerebellum, which is a part of the hindbrain. So the correct option will be option C in this case. Question number 12 says in snail, individuals can begin life as a male and as a male depending upon the environmental condition and can become female as they grow. This is because, well, you should know that in some animals, it is not the XY chromosomes that we have studied, that is XX or XY chromosomes, which is responsible for determination of the sex of the organism or the progeny. In some organisms, including snail, it is the environment temperature, like environment conditions that determine. So here it is not genetically determined. So we can easily look for the options here. Sex is not determined genetically. It is determined by the environment condition, the temperature and other physical conditions of the environment determines the sex of the progeny or the organisms. In question number 913, it says in the following cases, a ray of incident, that is, a ray is incident on a concave mirror, in which case is the angle of incidence equal to 0. So when is the angle of incidence 0? That means when it is along the normal. So let's say if this is for a concave mirror. So if I make one concave mirror, let's say I made one concave mirror, and these back sides are shaded. The reflecting surface is on the left, facing left. If I make this being the principal axis, and this is the pole here, say principal focus and center of curvature. You should know that the line joining the center of curvature to the point of incident act as a normal. This is the normal, and you must have read that the ray, if it is passes through this center of curvature, it rebounds along the center of curvature. It goes undeviated, rebounds back on the, not undeviated, it rebounds back on the same path as it is acting as the normal. As I said, this is the normal. So therefore, an angle made with the same line, they are coinciding, right? Here, the incident ray is coinciding with the normal, and therefore, this is the case. Now, so if I look into the options, I can see parallel to principal axis is not correct. As you know, a ray parallel to the principal axis after reflection will pass through the focus here, and a ray passing through the center of curvature and incident obliquely with an angle, right? So as far I can say, this is the correct option here. So this is again not correct because a ray passing through the center of principal focus, if a ray is made to pass through the principal focus after reflection, it should become parallel to the principal axis. In question number 14, as you can see, a white light is incident on a glass prism. This is the point of incidence, and the emergent ray, as you can see here, there is a dispersion of light taking place, the splitting of white light into its component color. Now choose the correct color. So what we know that when a white light enter, it disperse, and the one which the shortest wavelength, longest wavelength, that is red light, has the longest wavelength and is least deviated, and violet is what has the shortest wavelength, so it's maximum deviated. While in between there are colors, as you must be knowing that Vibgyor, that is violet, indigo, blue, GYOR. So red is at the top and violet at the bottom. So A must be red and B must be violet here. So A red, B violet is option C. Yeah, that's correct. Question number 15 is from the chapter R environment. It says the energy available to the producers is maximum. Yeah, as you must be knowing the 10% law, that only 10% of the energy available on one trophic label is transferred to the other trophic label in the food chain. Like if I make an organism here that is producers, then among the consumers, say herbivores, then they are carnivores and say top carnivores. So as you know that only 10% of the energy available to this is transferred over here and so on. So the maximum energy is found in the herbivores animals. It says in the first, what we have to find out is, yeah, the reason for why maximum of energy is available to the herbivores animals, right? Why maximum energy is available to here. You should know that, let's say, for example, if 10,000 joule of energy is available over here, only 10% of it, that is 1,000, will be transferred 1,000 joule, and so on. There will be 100 joule only and 10 joule. This is because of the 10% law. So the question is that what is the reason for this? So I can clearly see that the 10% of the light energy, all the energy which is absorbed by the plant, as you know that they utilizes the light energy and convert it into chemical energy in the form of glucose during photosynthesis. So the 10% of the energy is utilized. They utilize the 10% of the energy for respiration and other, and they transfer the rest to the next trophic level. So the reason is this for the 10% law. In question 16, is say which of the following is not the role of decomposers in ecosystem. So decomposers are what? Those microorganisms which convert the dead decaying parts of plants and animals and convert them into useful substances, into nitrites and nitrates back to the soil. Now, the thing is that it helps in natural replenishment of soil. You know that nutrients are taken up by or absorbed by the plants, particularly nitrogen in different form, and nutrients are taken by the plant. And you know that after some times, that these nutrients are replenished because when the plants and animals die or their excreta are converted into nitrites and nitrates back to the soil. So this is correct. And enrichment of oxygen, no, it has no role in enrichment of oxygen. Now, waste decomposition, yeah, that's the another reason why if you see the organic waste, that vegetable waste and all, if you throw into the soil and all, after some time it vanishes. It actually gets converted into the useful substances and breakdown of dead animals. Yeah, that's true. Otherwise, if you see that many organisms die every day in forest, but we won't find too many dead bodies over there because they are decomposed by these bacterias. We say decomposers is the correct word. So we'll say not is option B in this case. In question 17, it's an assertion reason based. It says on adding hydrochloric acid to a test tube containing a substance X, a colorless gas is produced which gives pop sound and when burning with a matchstick. Okay, so it has to be hydrogen only, as you know that. Let's say the substance X here and it reacts with hydrochloric acid, that is HCl. So we know that a salt will be produced, could be HCl2 or other thing, and hydrogen gas is released. As you know, this hydrogen gas burns with pop sound. So assertion is that's correct. Now see the reason here. It says in this reaction, X is displaced by hydrogen. Clearly not. X is in fact displacing hydrogen. You see, a hydrogen is getting displaced. So this is incorrect, right? The reverse is taking place, right? Here, X is not displacing hydrogen. In fact, hydrogen is being displaced by X here. So the reason is incorrect. And if you have an incorrect reason, so it's A is true, but R is false. If I see A is true and R is false. Say option C is correct in this case. In question number 18, another assertion reason based question, it says the number of chromosome in a cell and a germ cell, a cell that means maybe a body cell, that is somatic cells, and germ cells are gamete cells, right? Is not same in any species. That's true, right? So as you know that, for example, in human being, what do we know? That there are 23 pair of chromosomes, right? Okay, so first of all, you should know that in a body cell there are 22 pair of chromosomes, and the germ cell has 23 that pair of chromosomes because it has one XX or XY. Any of them are present for determination of the gender of the progeny. So this is correct, right? Assertion is correct. It says when two germ cells combine, they restore the number of chromosome. Now this is also correct that as you know that when 23 pair from the male and 23 pair from the, like this is male gamete and the female gamete, as you know, out of 23 pair only 23 comes from one parent and another 23 come from here, and we can see that the number of chromosomes in the zygote is restored, right? So this is correct, but this is not a correct explanation. There are two different things. So we can say that both assertion and reason is correct, but reason is not the correct explanation. So we should say option B in this case. Option B is correct. In question number 19, the assertion says a convex mirror always forms an image behind it, and the image is always virtual. Yeah, it's always virtual, always erect, and it is always smaller than size. Let me show you with some diagram. What we know that, let's say I'm making a Cartesian plane here, and let's say if I make a convex mirror, so let's say I made a this is a convex mirror, this side being shaded or painted. So whenever an image is formed, the image is formed always between F and P. This is F and this is C and this is P. So image formed is somewhere here. So this is behind the mirror. So it's always virtual, always erect, and always diminished, right? You always get a diminished image. So this is correct. And if I see, according to the sign convention, the focal length of a convex mirror is positive. Yes, as we know, that is, it has virtual focus, or we can say anything which is measured to the right of the pole, right? Right of the pole is taken as positive since it is on the right hand side of the pole, right? So we'll say that this is also correct. But here to the reason is not the correct explanation. So the next assertion is if the lines are removed from the food chain, it will not affect the food chain. Definitely wrong. However, if the plants are removed in the food chain, it will disturb the ecosystem. Let's understand the justification for our incorrect. This one is incorrect, right? And reason is that if any organism from one trophic level, one species is removed, or let's begin with some examples like these are plants which are eaten by some herbivorous animals and they be carnivorous animals. As of now, let's say I took any plant here, and this is any say I took goat here or any herbivorous animals, and let's say this is lion. So if this is removed, what is expected to happen? The numbers of herbivores will increase, and if they will increase, they will start eating more and more plants. So the forest can turn into the desert. So therefore, definitely removal of any of these trophic label can severely affect the ecosystem. Now, the reason is that the reason say plants, well, it can affect if any of the species. So even plants are removed, it will affect. So the total statement is not correct. The plants are producers who make the food using sunlight. That's correct. Plants take the sunlight, they take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the soil, and make the food. Well, the lions are consumer, yeah. These, except for all green plants, right? And I mean, all are, except for all green plants or some bacteria that can do photosynthesis. All others are called consumers, including herbivores, carnivores, right? And maybe other, I think we'll keep it till here.